Hey guys, welcome to Outdoorphoto. Thank you very much for joining us today for this podcast. In studio, I have with me Brendon Cremer. Brendon, welcome.
Hey,
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Brendon, where are you from? What are you doing currently? And where did you just get back from?
So I'm originally out of the guiding industry, born and raised in Zim. Been in South Africa obviously for many, many years now. But I'm one of the fortunate ones to say that my full-time job is photography. Take people out in safaris and teach them about photography. And a lot of people don't call it work, but they should try it.
It's a tough life.
But yeah, I spend a lot of time traveling. Tusk Photo, we do a number of safaris a year. It's just a great thing. I'm a teacher. I love teaching people. I love dealing with people. I've worked in the safari industry my whole life, so dealing with people and that sort of stuff is really enjoyable. And photography is just another passion of mine as well.
I think it's one of the best compliments that I've received for you in the shop and dealing with clients that come back from a trip with you.
Yeah.
Let's say you are hardly interested in your camera on these trips and that you're more focused on getting the people into the right positions with the right settings and everything.
Yeah, I know for sure. I've been doing this for a long time, and sure, when you go to a new place and you're seeing new things and that sort of stuff, you want to take as many photographs as you can. But I also firmly believe that you need to be photographing in order to help people. If you're not actually photographing and you're just helping people from a perspective of what you think in your head, scenarios are always different, and the best way to know that your guests are getting the right stuff is to actually be looking through your camera. So I look through my camera often, and it may look like I might be photographing sometimes, but very often I'm just checking to make sure what I'm saying makes sense.
I know that feeling where somebody's like, what settings is it? Okay, just hold on. Just grab a quick shot. Figure it out.
Give people ideas and that sort of stuff, but until you're actually shooting and you're thinking about it yourself and you're really looking and you're thinking about the photography, you start playing around and you say to people, hey guys, well, hang on, this is really working well. Try this out, So I think that's a really good thing. But ultimately, yes, I want the guests to get all the shots,
Get the full experience.
Absolutely. And, it needs to be a learning experience as well. I want people to go home with some amazing photographs, but I want them to have learned all of the stuff as well.
That's a pretty cool thing, and that's one of the biggest things about going on a trip like that. I had a really good client who came up from Durban, and he said he's been a client of Tusk for many years, and he compares it one drive out with you guys compared to 10 drives on his own in the Kruger National Park. I mean, you really get the guys out to the game and get them to the ideal spots to go and get the incredible images that you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. The places that we go to there's extensive research that goes into them. A lot of people say, why don't you try this place and try that place and whatever. And it's like, there's a number of things that go into planning a photographic safari, and it needs to be an area that's conducive to photography. But also there's certain things that we require from a photographic safari perspective, the number of people on a vehicle, what the game viewing's like. And then also you don't want to duplicate too many things as well, So yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it, but ultimately we pick really, really good places. So yes, if you take, for example, the Sabi Sands, for example, or even the Okavango Delta, you go to places like that and you'll photograph there in 4 days what you probably wouldn't photograph in 6 months in the Kruger. Yes, I've had a number of people that go to the Cremer and they go there for a week and they come back with the most amazing stuff that they're, that even it blows my mind.
But you're lucky. If something like that happens. It's
not a daily occurrence.
Yeah.
So yes, there's exceptions, and you can have really great trips in the Cremer and that sort of stuff. And I love the Cremer myself, actually. But yeah, just these other places that we go to, and it varies depending on what you want. All over Southern Africa, all over the world. It's just you condense time essentially. So the number of photographs, the number of keeper photographs that you go home with at some of these destinations is just, it's astronomical. Makes hard work for processing.
And we all love processing.
Absolutely.
But that's it. You guys are basically just maximizing the opportunities somebody might have to photograph those keepers.
Absolutely. So what we find is a lot of people that travel, obviously, let's not fool ourselves, photographic safaris is a luxury commodity, it's they, with the current conditions and that sort of stuff, everything's going up, and we know that all around us, so a lot of people don't have time.
Except if you earn dollars.
Yeah.
Different
I wish.
story.
It would be nice. But if you're a professional person, you're either working for someone, you own your own business, that sort of stuff, your time is limited to what you can be away. We would all love to be able to go to Kalahari for a month, or Central Kalahari, drop me off in Central Kalahari for a month. I would love it, but it's just not possible for the vast majority of us, So it's the best possible destinations with the right amount of time to go home with some amazing photographs.
I think that's a big difference between something like that. I mean, we recently had one of the guys here in the shop with a book launch. Not going to mention names right now.
Sure.
But it was a huge success for the book launch.
Sure.
But he spent a massive amount of time in the Kalahari.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the difference between a 5-day cricket game or a T20.
Absolutely.
And guys who want to go out on a safari like this want to go and get the shots.
Absolutely.
They don't have the luxury of
spending all that time,
but having all that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm super, super envious. Look forward to
Yeah, no, listen, it's a good laugh.
Tell me about the experience you just had in Tiger Canyon.
Yeah, listen, Tiger Canyons is one of the new destinations that we've introduced fairly recently, and it's incredible. I mean, I often find it difficult to explain. I'll probably find the vast majority of people that I chat to about it have the complete wrong impression.
It is. I speak about the place a lot.
Yeah.
So if you go and have a look at a lot of the other podcasts and chats, I'm constantly talking about Tiger Canyon because I think there's this strange misconception about the place.
Absolutely, it's an incredible place, and those cats, those tigers, is just. I mean, the guests that just came with me now, obviously first time seeing tigers, and everything. They just blew them away. I mean, that first sighting that we had with the tigers, I mean, they were literally speechless, So the photography is amazing. The environment that they live in there is beautiful beyond words. It's absolutely amazing. The light that you get there early mornings and late afternoons and that sort of stuff.
It's just different.
It's just different. It's incredible. You get that Venus belt in the evenings and that sort of stuff with the blues and the pinks in the sky and everything like that. It's just incredible. And I think those tigers just make the most amazing subjects as well. And the thing is, like a lot of people think, but it's like tigers in Africa. It's like a zoo, and it's nothing like that whatsoever. They're territorial, they patrol, they fight, they hunt their own food. So it's incredible. I mean, we saw a number of attempted hunts. We've seen them raising cubs, and yeah, I mean, it's just amazing.
Different.
It really, really is an amazing place.
Did you guys see the aardvarks there?
We didn't, unfortunately. So this time of year, the grass is a little longer, and it was hot, man. I tell you what, with this heat wave that's hitting us now, I mean, it's normally not that hot this time of the year, but I mean, it was crazy hot. So I mean, I think those aardvarks will be coming out much later in the evening. But it is a great place for aardvarks, and in the cooler times of the year, great place for aardvarks, and a potentially great place for some of the smaller cats. And one of the rarer ones is the little black-footed cat, which is very high up on my bucket list to see and photograph properly. I've seen very few in the wild, but I haven't managed to get any photographs of them. So it is an incredible place. The lodge that they've built there, small, only 6 people, beautifully located.
But
I
it's
mean, that
everything you want.
everything. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more.
Yeah.
I mean, it is absolutely stunning. The location where it's built, the rooms, the everything, the food, it's just mind blowing. And I always say to people, listen, you know what? I often sound like a salesman. You know what I mean? So it's like I want to take people there, so I'm obviously going to talk up the place. It's like, listen, don't believe me. Go and talk to other people who've been there, and find me one person who says that I want to go back.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you told me earlier. Was go and speak to somebody who's been there.
Yeah,
there's a lot of misconceptions and negative talk about the place and its history and what's going on. Why are tigers in Africa?
Yeah.
But as soon as you speak to somebody that's been there, it changes the whole story.
Absolutely. You know, and there's a number of reasons to go there. Like, you know, if you do want to photograph tigers, yes, there's obviously an expense side of things where, you know, obviously a lot cheaper to travel in South Africa than it is to go all the way, you know, to India.
And then you're not guaranteed of seeing tigers.
You know what I mean? There's, if you go to the right places in India, probably a pretty good chance that you're going to see tigers. But I can tell you that probably at least about 50% of people that go there don't come home with reasonable or any photographs of tigers. Many of them might see tigers, but the safari experience there is not a South Africa or a safari experience that we are used to.
Yeah.
A lot of people think like places like the Masai Mara are really busy and they're hectic and everything like that. Go to India. All of a sudden Masai Mara is very quiet. You know, so yeah, I mean, it's India's obviously a great country. I mean, the wildlife that they have there is amazing, and one of the things that people don't realize often about India is that, you know, they actually have an incredible wildlife there. But their parks are very small, and the way they run and that sort of stuff is just not really conducive to the greatest amount of photography. And the rules change all the time. You can do this and you can't do that, whatever. So it's a difficult place to operate. But I think it's a love-hate thing. I think there's a lot of people that will disagree with me and say, listen, I love India, I go there every year, whatever. Great, 100%. You're happy, I'm happy. Not for me.
Now, talking about the whole experience in Tiger Canyon, I heard you were out with AD this time around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has he found his shoes yet?
No, shoes? I don't think he owns any shoes.
Apparently, he's got a pair of pluckies for when it snows.
Yeah, I don't even know if he has that. Well, Adie's an incredible guide. You know, I mean, I've worked with a lot of guides throughout my life, and I think Adie's definitely up there. You know, from a knowledge perspective as well. He's got a good understanding of photography, so it makes life easier from my perspective, where I can focus on helping the guests and I don't have to worry too much about him positioning and that sort of stuff. So he's really easy to work with, but he's an incredible guide and incredibly knowledgeable as well. Big birder.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's quite a lot of for birders as well. In Tiger Canyons, there's about 63 endemic species to that area. You know, so if you've got a list and you're trying to
African rock puppet. Yeah. Look at me knowing birds' names. Don't ask me later.
Don't ask me to identify them.
Don't make me point them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Just let me name the names.
No, so he's a really good guide and an incredible place. I think all the staff there are incredible.
Yeah,
they do a great job.
They form part of a very special system.
Absolutely, you know, and I think the other thing I wanted to say about Tiger Canyons as well is that it's not just it's a conservation effort. You know what I mean? So there's African wildlife or critically endangered African wildlife in many other places around the world that are essentially there to secure a population, or not necessarily like a large population, but like a gene pool. Just in case anything goes wrong, we can always pull back from that and that sort of stuff. And listen, Tiger Canyon is not, the idea is not to go and release tigers in Kruger. You know, that's never going to happen. You know, or in Sabi Sands Private Game Reserve or any of these other places. It's not going to happen. It's restricted to that area. So it's always going to be just that. You know, obviously, yes, they're looking at extending and potentially buying up land around so the reserve can
that
get
would
a bit
be
bigger,
ideal.
which would be fantastic. You know, but there is big moves to reintroduce certain genes. So we talk about re-establishing a population. Tiger population in India is pretty stable at the moment. It does have its ups and downs, but it's more about the gene pool. So and it's a conservation story that is phenomenal. The original tigers that ended up coming to Tiger Canyons were all captive. They came from zoos. One came from a circus when circuses when they were banned in circuses or whatever. And these animals were successfully rewilded. So those tigers that are there now, you climb out the car and you're gonna be lunch.
you're gonna have a bad day.
You're gonna have a very bad day. So these tigers are wild. They're absolutely wild. So yes, we're generations on now from those original tigers that came from captive bred. So all of these have been bred in the wild, raised in the wild, 100% wild. But they successfully rewilded tigers. That's a story.
I think one of the insane things that we saw was in one of the female tigresses. She started checking out some of the ostriches.
Yeah.
And I've never seen birds panic like those birds panic.
Absolutely.
We didn't see and experience the kill, but we saw those birds were they were nipping.
They knew, yeah.
So it's wild. Like you said, if you get out in that camp, it's going to be a rough day.
Yeah. Nice.
So looking at the cheetahs that they've got there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing is that the cheetahs are incredible as well. And that is a reintroduction program, where cubs that are born there or whatever end up going all over the place. And the last lot of cubs that were there actually ended up going to the Zambezi Delta in northern Mozambique, which is another great conservation story. So into that area, there's been organizations that have reintroduced lions in that area because all apex predators were basically eliminated from that area many years ago. So species like your buffalo and that sort of things just had no population control whatsoever. And it was playing havoc on the environment, and whenever you remove an apex predator from an ecosystem, it's a bad thing. Never goes well, So they've reintroduced lions to that area. The cheetahs that they've reintroduced into that area came from Tiger Canyons. Great success story as well. So it's a conservation effort that I think that deserves some support.
Definitely. Listen, whilst we're on the whole photographic thing, because I can go on about Tiger Canyon.
No,
for
sure,
hours.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you're onto the mirrorless thing now with the Z8 in your hands, and it's
a beast.
It's what an incredible. I'm so happy. I've always been for that whole competition thing. Competition is healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whilst Nikon experienced a tough transition into mirrorless, that Z8, I believe, my own opinion, that Z8 has just absolutely broken up and caught up with the pack. And
Nikon was definitely slow out of the starting blocks. The first couple of Z cameras that came out, certainly for what I do.
The focusing wasn't on par.
I can't speak for everyone. I think guys who photograph studio and landscape and this stuff are probably very, very happy. But certainly for what I do, the first couple of Zs that came out were not there. But then Z9, Z8.
And the Z9, as incredible as the Z9 is, it also felt like it just had this false start. So it came out and it was like,
no one was sure.
No one was sure.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different ballgame now. And I see with the strategies that they've laid out with their firmware updates.
Yes, absolutely.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So the latest firmware update on that Z8 now, it's. And I think that's what I love about mirrorless as well. It's like, you're always worried about like, okay, I'm going to buy this camera.
What am I getting now?
And then, in a year's time or in 18 months' time, like they're going to bring out something else. Because like we're still essentially in the new kind of era, the beginning era of mirrorless. So whenever something's new, it's like the advancements are pretty rapid, I keep saying to people, it's like, I don't think you need to worry too much about that, It's like because everything now is software orientated. So like now with this new firmware update on the Z8, it's a brand new camera.
it's got all these new little tricks.
It's like I almost want to put it back in the box and take it out again because it's like brand new, So it's an incredible camera. I tell you what. I Now, that software update came out just before I left for Chobe. I was in Chobe for just over 2 weeks on the Chobe River last
Tough
month
life.
sometime. Yeah. It's rough. Staying on a houseboat. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Doing this the whole
Most-
time.
Yeah. But yeah, I tell you what, it is absolutely incredible. I mean, the tracking is just, it was good. It's now just next level. You know, the things that they've added, the bird eye tracking and that sort of stuff and everything is just, it really has just taken that camera to the next level.
I discussed it with one of the guys on a different brand topic, and we said that whole thing about mirrorless is the now.
Yeah.
That kind of thing has passed. You should be on mirrorless right now.
No, listen, if you're not on it now, you almost missed the bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's, and I say to people, listen, you know, it's a lot of people like look at the prices and like it's so expensive and it's like, oh, listen, it's not Mickey Mouse money, you know what I mean? But the equipment that you have, your DSLR, whether it be Canon, Nikon, or whatever it is, costs you money, and probably not a little bit of money, you know. So if you're hanging on to that stuff now, you pretty much
You're gonna
now at the
lose a
point
lot.
where you say, okay, this is now mine, and when I buy a mirrorless, I'm all in.
I think
You know.
the big thing or one of the misconceptions around mirrorless is that guys, hold on, now I have to buy new lenses, I have to buy this and that and whatever. But you can start off with the bodies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Go Z8 as
For
an
sure.
example.
I mean, all the brands have got adapters and that
Adapter,
sort of stuff,
and there you
so-
go. You roll out
yeah.
with your old F-mount lenses, no problem.
Absolutely. Off you go and you carry on and it's great. One thing that I will say is that the Z lenses are
It's
just,
just
on
so
a
much
different
better.
level as well. You know what I mean? So like those mirrorless lenses. And I think that's one thing that's really exciting about Nikon, and I think that's where they've surpassed many of the other brands is their lens lineup. The amount of options that they have available from all price perspective, which is what's really exciting about it. You know, very often, you know, you get 400 more lens. Like, okay, well, I can either go for this Zoom 150, 600 kind of thing, or whatever, which historically has never been the most amazing lenses in the world, or I must go 400 2.8. You know, which there's a chasm of difference from a price perspective, you know, between those two lenses.
One's the price of a student's car, the other one's the price of a house.
Exactly, you know. So and now with the stuff that they have in the middle, you know, that 400 4.5, which is a lens that I have.
What
You know,
an incredible little piece of
Yeesh,
kit.
I tell you what, that lens is mind blowing.
But that, in essence as well, with all the technology that's coming out and AI that's coming in, and
Yeah.
I mean, we were in Dubai with the launch training of the Z8, and I
Yeah.
was discussing with the Nikon guys about AI, and when we had the training on it, they actually mentioned that the AI is now being incorporated. So for the guys shooting portraits or weddings or whatever, it can identify up to 7 people's faces and do skin smoothing on their faces
Yeah.
on RAW
It's
in
crazy,
camera at 20 frames per second.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
nuts.
monumental amount
No,
of
absolutely.
processing that's happening in the
Yeah,
background.
Without a doubt, you know.
So,
Without a doubt.
and along with that, obviously, software that's coming out now that does denoise and
Absolutely, you know. So software that's out there is a thing. So like our from a technology perspective, yes, cameras, lenses, all that sort of stuff has changed, but the change in the post-production kind of software in the last couple of years has been astronomical.
just in the last 8 months.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
been insane.
DxO Pure Raw now just released version 4. I've been beta testing it now probably for the last 4 or 5 months. So it's now available to the public. It's just been released this week, actually. I think Monday it was, somewhere around about there. So yeah, I mean it's well worth it.
It's insane.
Download it. You can download a full trial.
I've had to go and
Yeah.
readjust some of the workshops that I'm presenting here in the shop because of the software changes and changes
Absolutely.
in technology.
Absolutely.
And it's just in the last 8 months.
for sure.
It's
No, it's
insane.
nuts. There's some crazy things happening.
But the wonderful thing about it to me is that all of a sudden you're going from a system with DSLRs, used to be super heavy. The mirrorless cameras are slightly lighter
Yeah.
The days of Fuji being,
No,
it's
listen,
way lighter, it's gone.
no, for
it's
sure.
it's now gone to it's slightly lighter.
Yeah.
But the advances in focusing, in tracking systems, in everything else, the megapixels, the frame rates, the everything, it's all just bonuses. Now we have a look across to old situations we used to have. People used to come in and they'd say they can't handle this big equipment anymore.
Yeah.
So they can't handle a 400 2.0 or a 600
yeah,
f4.
for sure.
So you kind of see those people dropping out of photography.
Yes. Yeah.
But now you've got that 400 more lens.
You've got everything now.
And
You know
it's
what I mean?
such an incredible piece of kit.
Absolutely, you know, and even that the 180-600,
Yes.
you know, that is an incredible lens. It really, really, really is. You know, it's yes, it's zoom, but what's really nice about it, it's kind of like the old 200-400, where it's like it's zoom. It's an internal zoom. It's not this little push me, pull you kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Look at me, I'm bigger.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it really is nice. It's really well built. It's an incredible lens. But yes, I mean the amount of stuff that's available now for people who are weight sensitive. And yes, the cameras are definitely not as not that much lighter. You know, I mean, I think that Z9 is pretty much the same weight as the old, you know, D6, for example. You know. But lenses are getting lighter.
I have to be honest, I was surprised when I got the first Z9 in my hands.
It was heavy.
It
is heavy.
It is heavy.
It is heavy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's also strange. I mean, all these brands have to compete somewhere, and all of them have their specific niche or little tricks up their sleeves.
For sure.
It's just getting crazy right now.
Yeah, but it's great that they're pushing each other. You know,
I love it.
Because I mean, the only people that score at the end of the day is us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's awesome. It really, really is great.
And just to clarify for the guys out there, when you say the only people who are scoring is us, we're not talking about the shops selling the gear. We're talking about guys
photographers,
like guys like myself who wanted to bring out a book of blurred bird tails, because that's the when I was shooting DSLR, that was what I was getting with birds in flight, is blurred bird tails. It was a mess.
No, listen, photography's definitely got easier.
Now all of a sudden, you still have to understand your subject. You still have to understand 100%. Light. You still have to get out and go and take the 100%. Photograph. But it does make it easier.
No, listen, it makes it easier. I always say to people, listen, you know, people say, listen, I can't afford this, or I can't afford that, whatever. It's like, listen, just buy the best possible equipment that you can afford. Yes, the higher end stuff, the better quality stuff, the best this or whatever. The better the camera, yes, it makes it easier, but it doesn't make the photograph. You're not gonna come into this industry not having taken a photograph. Go and buy a Z8 or a Z9. Just drop $2 million on lenses or whatever it is. Go out there and think you're gonna be the world's best photographer. No, it doesn't work like that. You know, it's kind of like
you need a safari with tusk.
Patting the chef on the back because he's made a really good, telling me, you must have a really good stove.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That
this
steak
food
was
is amazing.
The stove must be phenomenal. You know what I mean?
But I think that just adds to the value of going out with you guys.
Absolutely.
And again, a compliment that I've heard in the shop from clients is saying that the experience that they've picked up going out with you guys. And a lot of people have this misconception. We're using that misconception word quite a lot.
Yeah.
But one of those misconceptions is that, no, I don't want to go on one of the Tusk safaris because I'm not good enough yet.
Yeah, no.
That's the last thing you need to worry about.
No, absolutely. I mean, listen, we have people from iPhones to wherever, and people who have just started photography to people who have been photographing for many, many years. So, I mean, we're there to teach you. And
it's a massive learning curve.
And yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to sit there and teach you and explain what aperture is to you. I've got no problem doing that whatsoever, And I think that where the advantage comes from is that, we're looking at a combined, but, between all 5 of us that have been photographing, you're probably looking at over 100 years worth of experience between all of us,
Jeez.
At least, many of us come out of the guiding industry and have worked in the industry for many years. We've all been working with wildlife for decades, you know. So you have access to that knowledge, you know. So it's not only the photographic side of things, but it's also the wildlife side of things, you know, preparing for being able to read animal behavior and saying, listen, okay, well, this might happen now, so just watch out, be ready for it, you know.
Guys, sit down, something's gonna happen.
But even just from a photographic perspective, you know, we're teaching you stuff that we've learned over the years, you know what I mean? So yes, you can go out there and try and work it out yourself, or you can just come and listen to us. No, but I mean, really, I mean, it's like you've got an encyclopedia of knowledge between all of us, you know, where we can help you. And
it's right there.
And I always say to people, listen, you know, I'm going to give you ideas of to what to do, what to shoot. I'm going to tell you what my settings are, what settings I recommend. Use them, don't use them. If you got a different idea in your mind and you're trying to work something out and you're not getting it right, just tell me what you're trying to do. And then I'll say, okay, well, rather try doing it this way or whatever it might be. You know what I mean? So I'll help you achieve what you want to achieve as well.
We had a client coming in, and on your recommendation, he had to come and buy some specific gear to get specific shots on a safari.
Yeah.
And he came in and he's like, what the... what am I... What? Why? And he was a bit upset. Not upset. But we went through the whole discussion. We discussed it, and we said, listen, just bite in on this and hold on.
Yeah.
And he came back from the trip and he said he got the most incredible images. And like you guys mentioned, it's going to be something different.
Absolutely. You know, it's like, there's a concept of shooting what you see. And then the problem with that is that you're relying on your subjects to make the photograph for you. Whereas photography is this open box. We have numerous tools available to us. And a lot of people think it's just about going out there, your camera and lens, go and look for something and photograph it. Yeah, but there's another side of it, saying, well, you know, how do I photograph something that I've photographed a million times, but how do I do it differently?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
How do I make it unique?
Change
how do
the
I
angle,
change the perspective, or do something different? How do I change the lighting? How do I manipulate the lighting? How do I make it look different, you know? And that's
the
where
more you
utilizing
shoot,
absolutely,
the faster you're going to get out to
absolutely. And utilizing the tools that are available to us.
Yes.
You know, we've got tools that people in studios and other photographic genres have been using for years, you know. We're only just figuring that out now. No, man, come on.
Look, before we have to go, this has been an incredibly lacquer chat with you. What are the destinations that people can look forward to with Tusk Photo in the next year?
Well, listen, we've got some great new stuff coming up. You know, we've got a new place in the Okavango Delta, which is phenomenal, Bushman Plains. It is in the peak game viewing area or prime game viewing area, so rather say in Okavango Delta, right up by the Panhandle, between Duba Plains and Vumbura, both very, very well-known wildlife destinations. This lies slap bang in the middle of them. Really great destination, which is phenomenal. Obviously, Tiger Canyons is new, which is fantastic. We're looking at bringing back Falkland Islands. We've got Pumas in Patagonia coming up this year. That's going to be crazy again. Pantanal in Brazil is obviously a phenomenal destination coming up in August. And Svalbard also coming up in August again as well for polar bears and that sort of thing. So we've got some really great destinations coming up. Obviously, all of our local destinations, East Africa. You know, we've got a new destination now in East Africa, just outside the Masai Mara Reserve itself, in one of the conservancies. It's a lot less people, amazing game viewing. Don't have to deal with the hustle and bustle of the main crowds of Masai Mara during peak season, but still the most amazing game viewing. I mean, you'd never know you're not in the Masai Mara, apart from the fact that there's a lack of vehicles around. So yeah, we got some really, really cool stuff coming up.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Super jealous. One day. Brendon, thank you very much for joining us for this quick chat.
No, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Look forward to chatting to you again.
Sure.
Guys, thank you very much for watching this show. Get the links down below for all the information for Tusk Photo and Brendon's page and all the Instagram feeds that you can follow him on. We look forward to sharing more of this kind of content with you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.